All right. You know what it is. You know who it is. We're back. We got episode, I believe, 35 of the Fight Cast coming to you. Back. I had COVID this past week, so we missed the episode.
Oh, is
But
that
yeah, I tell you that. I thought you were.
no?
Oh, I got
You just
COVID.
texted me and said, "Yo, I'm fucked up."
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't get tested at that point, so I
Oh,
got I got tested Thursday. The fucking tests down here are insane. You gotta plan to have COVID to get a test on time. So
it's
that doesn't
fucking
really
Florida. They don't. COVID isn't
it
real down there, right?
doesn't work out very well. But I got a test, was positive. Now I'm back on my grind to get a negative test. So that's my next feat. So I'll be home all week. That's
Are
all.
you? I can't even believe that you guys are allowed to get tests down there with that governor you got.
Yeah, I don't know.
That guy trying to sue against COVID tests. He's a weirdo, man.
Well, it's hard to get a COVID test out here. You have to literally plan like 4 days in advance to get a COVID test. So
you got the nice weather, but it really is the armpit of America. Like it's such a weird place down there, man.
well, whatever. But I'm getting getting through it. I was sick for 2 days. I've been fine since. I just can't get a negative test. So I'm in the house until then, which I'm going crazy. But we had which sucks because this weekend there was no UFC to even watch. I just had to sit there and but we're gonna dive back into UFC 265, which happened 2 weeks ago because there's a lot that happened there. We'll talk about the big fight this weekend, which will be the only fight that I go over. Then we'll get into the boxing stuff as per usual, and we will go from there. So another tough weekend for myself at UFC 265. I picked one fight right, which is great. We had Song Yadong versus Casey Kenny. I picked Kenny by unanimous decision, and Song Yadong just pieced him up. He looked a lot faster the entire fight. Kenny went for a couple takedowns. He showed a lot of heart, and he was, his conditioning was there. He was there the whole fight, and he was in Yadong's face. But it just seemed like every time he went to go try something or do something or push the pace, he just got stuffed and hit in the face with a jab. So Song Yadong looked really good. I've never really watched him fight. He's definitely on my radar now, and I feel as though moving forward, he's definitely going to be a big name. And Kenny, he's kind of, he's 0-2 in his last two fights. I thought this was going to be one of those fights where his pedigree from before, because the only person he really lost to up to this point was Dominic Cruz. And Dominic Cruz is obviously one of the best bantamweights of all time. So I was thinking his background and pedigree would be better than Song Yadong, and he would push the pace there. And he did push the pace, and he was in his face the entire fight. But like I said, he just didn't do anything. He didn't hit him enough. And when he did go for takedowns, Song Yadong he blocked them pretty easily. And there was really there was nothing on Kenny's end to like push the bill or anything to get anything. So he lost by unanimous decision. The next fight was Tecia Torres versus Angela Hill. I picked Angela Hill. I feel like I picked Torres, but I picked Angela Hill by unanimous decision. That's what I wrote down. Tecia Torres looked phenomenal. She was giving it to Hill all night on the feet. They even went to the ground, and she looked a little bit better on the ground than Angela Hill. She had everything you could ask for. She was kicking. Her punches were nice. Her combinations were beautiful. She's a shorter fighter compared to Angela Hill, and she used her teeps really well. She used her kicks and her legs to keep her distance, and when she needed to get inside, she did. She was quick. She got in. She hit. She won the clinch. She won about just about every aspect of that fight. And she put Angela Hill through a night. Angela Hill's another tough person. She sat through it. She got to the end of the fight, but she got pieced up pretty good there. But like I said, I was really impressed with Torres, how she used her legs, her kicks, her teeps to keep the distance. And then when she had to get inside, or when she was forced to get inside, she usually won those exchanges. She won the clinch. And even when it did go to the ground, she seemed to be in control. So it was a great fight by Torres. I think she's going to push herself here and get herself another high-level fight. I think if she wins one more, she's definitely in the discussion for a title fight. So whoever she fights next is probably going to be a high-ranking person in that division. And then, but yeah, so she impressed me a lot. She definitely became one of my go-to fighters in that women's division. So I'm excited to see her go. To me, it was the upset of the night was Michael Chiesa versus Vicente Luque. I picked Chiesa, and I think that if this fight happens 9 times out of 10, Luque loses 9 times, or if this fight happens 10 times, I think Luque loses 9 times out of 10. Chiesa got submitted with a Darce choke, and Chiesa is the jiu-jitsu guy here. He's supposed to be the better guy on the ground, the wrestler and the grappler. I don't really know what happened. I think he just got lazy and he was trying to get up from the ground because he took him down, and he was almost about to submit Luque, and he had his back, and then he flipped over, had both of his hands on the ground, and Luque just put him in a Darce choke and ended the fight. It was a really tight Darce choke, and Chiesa couldn't get out, and that was it. It was really bizarre because Chiesa looked in control of that fight until he got flipped over and got put in that Darce choke. So to me, like I said, Chiesa should have came out in this fight, and he was looking real good up to that point. So to see him kind of like falter there and get Darce choked and lose was crazy. And because it was a Darce choke and like on the ground, it made it even more bizarre to me. But like I said, I think that Luque, he just beat Tyron Woodley. He just beat Michael Chiesa. I think he's got to be up next or in the conversation for one of these for the welterweight belt. There's a lot going on in that division right now. Another welterweight fight coming up this weekend, which we'll talk about. But Usman's going to be fighting Covington, and then if Covington gets the belt, if Usman keeps the belt, there's a lot to be had there. Nick Diaz, Covington again. You got Masvidal. Like, there's so much to go on in this division with the lightweight division as well. These two are the most exciting divisions within the UFC right now. And I think that Luque, he's shown up. He just beat Chiesa. He beat Woodley before that. So I think for him, it's easily a top 5 opponent, and then or top 10 opponent at least. And then whoever he gets from there, I think it's going to be a good fight for him. But again, I picked Chiesa and he lost. Second to last fight, we had Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz. This one I actually got right. I picked Jose Aldo. Aldo looked phenomenal. I guess Aldo went back after his last fight and started working a lot on his boxing with somebody, one of his coaches or someone that he knows. And his boxing showed Saturday night because he looked sharp with his hands. He was quick. He was using good combinations. I feel like you would have been proud of watching him. Maybe they weren't as clean, but
he looked very quick on his feet too.
Yeah. He did. He didn't go to that.
One of the things I'm always talking about with these MMA guys is their lateral movement or the lack of lateral movement.
Yeah.
You saw kind of a lot of that from Aldo, which is, I don't know if you noticed it because it is something that is rare with those guys because they move straight forward and back so often.
Yeah.
But him taking steps off, like what we call the drop steps, right? He would drop step off to the side, get back on the center line, come up to the side. It looked good. He looked good.
Yeah, he moved well. He's usually a very kick-heavy style, and he didn't rely on his kicks. He relied on his hands, which was great to watch. And he did everything he needed to. Like Jake said, he stepped off the line. He moved well. He cut off the ring well. He did a lot of good stuff with his feet and his hands, with his hands. And he just looked sharper and a step ahead of Munoz the entire night. I think he's back in the title mix. I see a lot of good fights there as well. Cody Garbrandt, Sean O'Malley, whoever it is that decides they want to put him with. I think that any of these fights in the bantamweight at 135 is going to be a great fight for Aldo. And I think that he's starting to put it together. And I really think this will be, I think he knows it. And I think that everybody else knows it. This is going to be one of his last runs through the UFC. And I think he's putting all the pieces together. It could even be Dillashaw, which would be great if it was Dillashaw. But he just looked phenomenal. And I think this is, prime Aldo. I think that him being like this and having all the other tools with his kicks and his grappling, I think it puts him in a good place. And he's a scary fighter. And I don't think any of those guys want to go against Aldo if he's 100%. And then the fight of the night. So we had Derek Lewis versus Ciryl Gane. So I think anybody who takes emotion out of this fight looks at it and says Ciryl Gane is a better fighter than Derek Lewis. But I think, and we've said this every time I've covered a Derek Lewis fight, and anytime you've watched a Derek Lewis fight as a fan and from like even a fighter's perspective, the guy shouldn't win and he wins. There's been countless fights where he has less skill. It goes against a grappler, goes against somebody who doesn't have the skill, and he pulls it out somehow with an uppercut or some random. He just needs to connect. And we've said this multiple times, and Jake especially, but like power is a great equalizer in a lot of ways. And it doesn't matter if you have the skill, because if you have to avoid one punch the entire night and all it needs to do is land once, that's a big thing you have to avoid. Whereas, if you're fighting somebody who is a grappler or is doesn't have the power that Lewis has, you can get hit a couple times, you can take a couple of shots, and you have to be worried about it. And I think that that night, the pressure got to Lewis of fighting in Houston, fighting for the belt, and he let, I think you could see it from the walkout. He didn't look right. He didn't look like
He
there.
looked like he didn't want to fucking be there, bro.
Yeah, he looked like
first time he got hit, it looked like he was like, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, and I saw from the first minute or first 30 seconds of the fight when Gane gave Lewis 3 straight leg kicks and he did nothing. I was like, okay, it's going to be a problem. And then Gane honestly, I don't know if I don't know if Ngannou stands a chance against Gane, because I think Ngannou is closer to Lewis than any other fighter. And I don't think that Ngannou has the skill to get inside on Gane. And I say that because
Ngannou is slow as fuck.
And I say that because if you watch this fight, essentially Derek Lewis is a little less skilled version than Ngannou, but is how Ngannou fights. He doesn't throw a lot of combos. He's not going to be very much in your face. He's going to sit back. He's going to either look for the counter punch or he's just going to look for that one punch. And Gane shut that shit down completely. I don't think, there was maybe 30 seconds of that fight where you were like, oh shit, Lewis could do something. And Gane got out, reset, and that was it. I think that Lewis, again, didn't want to be there. He looked slow. He looked like he was just hoping to connect, and that was it. Because as soon as he got hit and his leg started to give in, I think, or he started to feel the leg kicks, he just gave up. He just dropped down. He kept saying he got his eye.
He started going into the fetal position.
Yeah.
That's a big red flag right there. Like, your boy doesn't want to be here.
Yeah, and I think I've never seen it before from him. I really think it was just the pressure of Houston, the belt, everything was just on the line. And I think just Gane was just that. He's just that good. He's just that good of a fighter.
It's weird. I was telling someone the other day, like when we both gave our predictions for the fight, right? We said, so these are all the reasons why Ciryl Gane should win this fight, right?
Yep.
He's more athletic, he's more skilled, he's got better movement. Having said that, Derek Lewis and his big punch.
Yeah.
Right? So what we did is we picked with our hearts.
Yep.
After analyzing it like we should.
Yeah.
Like smart people.
Yep.
We went away from the smart thing and said, no, let's go with the guy with the big shot.
Yeah.
The guy with all the skill who should absolutely win the fight. Yeah, you know what? And look at even me, like I was like, I think what I said specifically was, I think that Gane will have to do a lot to stay away from that power.
Yeah.
And at some point he's going to be fatigued from having to do other work from staying away. But what I didn't think of was all the attacks he's going to, like all the shots he's going to land on Derek Lewis while he's in there and then get out. So honestly, we like when we were talking about it, I mean, the answers were there.
I think, like I said, I think if you look at this fight from an outsider's perspective and you came in and you were like, I have no clue who Lewis is, I have no clue who Gane is, and you look at Gane and you tell someone these are the skills, this is what he's better at, you'd be like, okay, well then obviously he's going to win. Yeah. But I think that like Lewis, again, time and time again, has shown he's done it. He wins against the guy he shouldn't, and that's it. Now, again, with Gane, I think, shifting discussion over to him, he is easily my favorite going into an Ngannou fight. I don't think it's a question. I don't know that there's a heavyweight besides John Jones that would give him a run for his money. And right now, until I see John Jones, because his first fight won't be against Gane, but until I see John Jones in a heavyweight fight, whether that's Stipe, Derek, or whoever it is that he fights, I would pick Gane over John Jones just because of how well he moves, everything that he does. He's quick on his feet. He kicks. He's not a power puncher, but he gets his punches in and he's smart. And I think that's the biggest thing. And he doesn't get caught up, because there was definitely a couple times where he could have played into the crowd and to Derek Lewis and could have got involved in like a trade-off of just punches. but he got in, he got out, he dodged it and moved. And I think that seeing that was really good for me, because going into a fight against Ngannou, and I'm pretty sure he's the favorite going into the fight with Ngannou, but I don't see a way in which Ngannou beats him. I really don't. I think that after what I saw from Gane, he's got literally everything that you asked for, and the size and the speed and the skill and the IQ. And like you said, everything was there to pick him. I just think everybody fell in love with you just have to, again, avoid that one punch from Lewis. And I think that I picked the same way when I picked Ngannou and Stipe. I believe I picked Stipe to win. And that's where, Stipe is the better fighter, but Ngannou is just he's just got power, and he was more patient, and he did the one thing everybody said Stipe had to avoid, which was get caught. And that was it, So, but I think moving forward, I think Gane is, I think he's that dude, and I think he's going to be that dude for a while. And I'm excited to see for him versus Ngannou, and I'm really excited to see him versus John Jones, because I think John Jones is the better fight, and I think John Jones is the only person right now that has any tool set to beat this guy, because he could get him on the ground, he could strike with him, he could kick with him. He's longer, I think, than Gane. But yeah, so bad night, but we're on to the next one as per usual. So this weekend we got UFC Fight Night. We got Kelvin Gastelum versus Jared Cannonier. So this fight I think is interesting, but they're kind of both in weird positions. Gastelum has multiple times been, teetering towards the belt, and he's even fought for it against Izzy once. He's that fighter that's like looking over the edge, but just can't get over the edge. He just doesn't have what it takes to push himself over to that upper echelon of fighter. He's up there, like he's in that top talk of the middleweight division, but he never like I said, he never gets himself over that edge. And I think that for him, this is a big fight, because Cannonier is someone who, fought the big names. The only person he hasn't really fought is Izzy, and Izzy wants to fight him. So I think that if Cannonier wins here, he'll probably be one of the next up and coming pieces. I'm really excited about Darren Till. I want Darren Till to fight Izzy. And I'm hoping he does it soon, because he's got his next fight against Derek Brunson, which is going to be a big fight, which was just announced. But Darren Till's another name. But I say Darren Till's name because I think that whoever wins this fight could face Till. And then whoever wins that fight could face Izzy next, because Izzy's facing Robert Whitaker next for the belt. I think going into this fight, when you look at this, Cannonier is a very good fighter. He's a good stand-up guy. He's got a lot of skills. Gastelum to me is a better fighter overall. And like I said, I don't think Cannonier has a chance against Izzy, and I don't think Cannonier is in the same level as Gastelum, and I don't think Gastelum is in the same level as Izzy. So I think Gastelum wins this fight handily. I think what's going to happen here is he's going to control this fight, like not the last fight because he lost, but 2 fights ago. And I think who did Gastelum fight next or last? So Gastelum fought Whitaker and he lost. And then before that, he fought Ian Heinisch. And I think we're going to see the Gastelum from the Ian Heinisch fight, which is pressuring him the whole fight, getting on his ass, pushing him against the cage, taking it to the ground, doing all the things that he needs to do to win this fight. And I think that Cannonier, his last fight was Whitaker as well. And then he beat Anderson Silva and Jack Hermanson before that. But I do really think, going into this fight, it's not going to be, I think it's going to be Gastelum pushing the pace here. And I think that Gastelum's going to control it like he did against Heinisch. So my prediction here is going to be Gastelum by unanimous decision. And then I think, after that, Gastelum will, be in the conversation again. I don't know how many times he's going to get that opportunity for the belt, because he just lost to Whitaker for his second chance at the belt. But I think, a couple wins from Gastelum and he could definitely be right back up there. So I think that he knows that. I think he's a good fighter, a better fighter overall than Cannonier. And I think that he's got all the intangibles to do what he needs to do. It's just actually doing what he needs to do. So again, Gastelum, unanimous decision for this weekend. And yeah, that's it. And then, like I said, other news: Darren Till versus Derek Brunson was announced. I think that's in October or November. So that's going to be a fucking banger because Darren Till, he's been supposed to be back like 3 or 4 times, and every time he's supposed to come back, he gets hurt or sick or something like that. So I'm hoping this is the one where he comes back. I'm excited to see him go. And yeah, so boxing news.
So let's start with the fights last weekend. We'll start with Muhammad Ali's grandson, Nico Ali Walsh, who
He
apparently
looks really good.
I
mean, he fought a tomato can, but
I mean, he looked like someone who's never boxed before, fighting someone who's never even heard of boxing. Like
True.
That's what it looked like.
I didn't know. So I watched that when I first saw the video. I was kind of like, who are these guys? And then like I saw him, I didn't know it was like a top rank fight. And then they said it was like Muhammad Ali's nephew. I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, that sucks. But
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that he knows how to move. He understands the mechanics of boxing. Like, obviously, he has something in him, certain affinity for it. But he looked like a beginner. He looked like someone who had less than 30 amateur fights. And the guy he was fighting against, I mean, he didn't even throw a real punch the whole time. He kept like pushing him. And apparently, I found this out after that dude is he's an MMA fighter.
The boxer that he fought?
Yeah, the dude Jordan Weeks, he's an MMA fighter. So it's news because it's Muhammad Ali's grandson. As far as the actual fight was concerned, it was trash. And even Ali Walsh said after the fight that he knows he's a beginner. So they were working on the 1-2, and he threw nothing but the 1-2. So that tells you what kind of fight it was. That he got a knockout in the first round, only throwing the 1-2. So it was trash. Let's see. What else do we have? Virgil Ortiz fought Russian dude. He stunned Ortiz. I think it was in like the second round. I had Virgil hurt, had him wobbling all around the ring, but he couldn't finish him. And to Virgil Ortiz's credit, man, like this dude, he's got it in him because this motherfucker was wobbling on noodle legs and waving him in and throwing bombs right back at him while he could barely stand. It was, he's got it in him, man. And then came back out the following rounds and showed a ton. So Virgil Ortiz is only 23 years old. He's 18 after this fight. He's 18-0 with 18 knockouts. He's a power puncher, but he came out after that, after he got hurt, and boxed the shit out of that dude. And then eventually wore him down and let loose with the power shots. Ended up getting him out of there. Knocked him down once with a body shot and then with a nice combination. And then at one point he hit him with a body shot and the dude took a knee and then they finally got him out of there. But Virgil Ortiz looked fucking great. He called out Terrence Crawford after the fight. As good as he looked, I don't think he's ready for Crawford, but you know, we'll see what happens. That was a really exciting fight. Who else fought? What else I have in there?
We had Michael Conlon, Buddy McGirt fighters.
Oh, Michael Conlon was the week before.
Oh, it was the week before. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we didn't get the last time that we were on, I predicted Michael Conlon would win by knockout with a body shot.
Yeah, did he?
Wow, the dude looked weak to the body. Well, he didn't knock him out. He did knock him down with a body shot, though.
There you
go. And got the decision. And Michael Conlon looked great. Really, really slick. He looked great. Oh yeah. So the Buddy McGirt's fighter, Carlos Balderas, who was he was an Olympian. His last fight he lost, and I don't know much about him, but it sounded like he didn't look good. Some people gave up on him. He ended up at Blue Moon. Buddy McGirt comes back out and looks fucking unbelievable in this fight. First knockdown he had was a beautifully executed. He had his hands up. Dude threw a right. It was like an overhand right, kind of, right? Balderas did like a quarter turn back. So he brought his left shoulder back just a little bit, caught the shot, returned fire with a short hook, wobbled him, jumped on him, put him through the ropes. And why is that important? Because I put a tutorial on YouTube around a year ago talking about how I despise coaches that teach catching a shot on one side and returning fire from the other side. It's an idiotic way to go about things, because if the other guy is holding his hand up, you guys are just going to trade blocks. So you catch and you fire on the side that you caught, because that side is exposed. And that was just a brilliant example of that. If you watch the replay, little quarter turn, boom, catches the shot. He's able to get the hook off and land it before the dude can pull his guard back, and wobbles him. Beautifully executed. And then he just fucking washed the dude after that. I mean, just looked great. I mean, so this guy's Balderas is 10-1 now with 8 knockouts. Beginning of his career, he's a 135er. So I think we're gonna hear his name for a long time, especially now that he's with Buddy. And that was those were all the good fights from this past week.
This past weekend. The weekend.
Yeah. The weekend that we missed.
Yeah, and another news, we also had we had a guy who fought from the gym. His name is Josniel Castro, 4-0. Fought in Massachusetts. He got a knockout win. And then he's an up-and-coming guy. And then from Albany, New York, Abraham Nova, he got a unanimous decision win. He's 20-0 now with 18 knockouts, I believe. So he's going up in the ranks. It's exciting to see somebody from Albany. And and then I think that was it for boxing in terms of what we had. So this weekend. This weekend we got some big fights. So we got Pac-Man or Manny Pacquiao versus Ugas. Was supposed to be Errol Spence Jr. versus Manny Pacquiao, but Errol Spence suffered a detached retina from I'm assuming from training, from sparring. He's been having it the last couple of years with injuries and fights, which sucks. But yeah, so this is going to be I'll let Jake break this down and then we'll go from there.
I think this is an easy one. I honestly don't know too much about Ugas. I've seen a little bit of him. What I've seen of him, though, I don't. Even a 45-year-old Pacquiao just beats this dude up, to be honest with you. What turned into a really big fight weekend and probably a Pacquiao loss. I mean, I'll be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if Pacquiao did catch Spence, but I think Spence was going to win. He's too big, too young, too strong. So what turns from a gigantic fight weekend with Pacquiao probably losing into Pacquiao getting a belt back, because I think he's going to beat the fucking shit out of this dude, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see that what we always see with Pacquiao against these guys who are they fight a little straight up. They're a little lumbering. Pacquiao in and out, side to side, landing fucking 47 punch combinations, weird angled overhand rights and uppercuts, and he's going to catch him with one. He's going to knock this dude out. I think he's going to knock this dude out. I think he's going to knock him out relatively early. I'll say let's go 5th round. I'll say 5th round knockout Pacquiao.
All right, I'm gonna go 8th round knockout Pacquiao. I was in kind of the same boat. I think that Pacquiao, I think this weekend was going to be great. But now it just kind of sucks because, like I said, Spence hasn't been able to, he's had the car accident. He's had other little injuries before fights that he was supposed to be in. So And I've never really watched Ugas at all. All I know is that Manny Pacquiao is Manny Pacquiao. So I think he's going to outbox the shit out of this guy. We'll get him with an 8th round KO. And yeah, so other than that, we got some boxing news. I'll let Jake kind of talk about that as well. So we got Canelo, right?
Yeah. So Canelo Plant is back on. Word is that they're nearing a deal to fight in November. So whatever bullshit that caused them to drop out before, I guess, is taken care of. And listen, I don't know a whole lot about the business of boxing like that and the dealings, but I'm going to go out and say that after seeing Spence get injured and that fight getting fucked up, that whatever demands that Canelo had about Plant possibly getting injured, I'm saying that that PBC and Al Heyman, the only way this happens is Al Heyman, PBC, Caleb Plant giving in to whatever demands Canelo has.
Yeah.
Because Caleb Plant will never, ever get a payday as big as he's going to get with this time without Canelo.
Yeah.
Because say by some fucking miracle of the God that doesn't exist, that Caleb Plant does get a win, it's going to skyrocket him to places, to a stratosphere that he would never be able to reach on his own.
Yeah.
And losing to Canelo is going to get him paid more money than he's ever been paid in his life. He needs Canelo because no one takes Caleb Plant seriously in terms of, like, we all know he can fight. There's no doubt about that. He can fight. The dude he's nasty, but he hasn't fought anyone, and there's no one for him to fight on the horizon. Canelo's got all the other fucking belts, so there's no one else for him to fight. So this had to happen. They know that. Canelo's team knows that. So I suspect Canelo's demands for a guaranteed payday in case Caleb Plant gets hurt, and them having a problem with it before, turn it around. They're like, you know what? We kind of got to fight this guy and see. Now this is all public, and all right, whatever. You know what I mean? I suspect that's what happened, because Caleb Plant probably went to his wife, who works in TV, and was like, yeah, this is what I was gonna get paid for this fight. And Al Heyman, these guys said, fuck off. And his wife was probably like, you better walk back in that fucking office and make that shit happen. You know what I mean? I think something like that happened.
Well, yeah, and I think
you got to make the fight happen if you're Caleb Plant. If you want respect as a fighter, and if you want that payday, you got to make this fight happen.
Well, the thing was that confused me and made me annoyed was I saw like 2 or 3 posts, I think from last week, and he was saying it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's not about the money. And it's like, well, then why the fuck aren't you fighting him?
Yeah.
Like, if it's not about the money, then like he's easily the fight that makes sense. He put it on Instagram. He put it on one of his posts.
Well, because he tried to put all the blame on Canelo.
Yeah. He's like, I've never been about the money. It's like, well, then why aren't you fighting him if that's the case? Because like,
you're putting on this Canelo. How many times have we seen Canelo fucking run from a fight and say, no, I don't want to fight that guy?
Yeah.
Guy's fucking fighting everybody.
Yeah.
These guys fighting everybody from 147 all the way up to 175. You think the public is going to believe, like, yeah, I think Canelo's ducking Caleb Plant, who's fought fucking 0 people, nobody.
Yeah.
So I think the publicity, like the way that it looked for Caleb Plant and the money he was going to make, I think all of those things were factors for him to just get with his team and be like, look, we got to make this happen, because I'm never going to have a chance like this again. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think the deal's going to get
not about the money.
Of course it is, dude.
Yeah, it's just,
I mean, look at your professional fighters. We get like, and again, professional fighters are different from other professional athletes, right? Yeah. Like, you start out making nothing for putting your life on the line. All right. So we know it's not all about the money. You become a fighter because there's something fucking wrong with you. Like, we're wired differently than other people. That's just how it is. So we know that you're going to fight whether you get paid or not. We get it. Right. But at this level, it's like, okay, now you've made it this far. Now you got to start making some decisions. Like, you're going to fight anyway. You might as well make it as worth your while as you possibly can.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, so of course it's about the money now. You know what I mean? Because like otherwise you would just keep fighting tomato cans and get paid your $500 grand or whatever the fuck you were making.
Yeah.
And as opposed to like your 10, 15 million that you're probably gonna get for this one fucking fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, of course it's not all about the money, but don't bullshit people trying to tell people like Canelo.
He's trying to blame, he's trying to blame Canelo, and clearly he's ducking. But yeah, so that fight's looking to happen in November. Then we got Tio versus George Kambosos, you said, right?
Yeah. So there was a big deal. The WB, or yeah, I think it was the WBO ordered Triller to stage the fight in the US because of COVID shit. So Australia is like, way better than everyone else in the world. They're like fucking, as soon as one COVID case, like, nope, everybody out. So it'd be hard to, have an event there. So they were going back and forth, and I guess Triller, they picked a spot that works for everyone. And I think it's going to be in the Middle East. Yeah, it's going to be in the Middle East, Dubai, probably. So that's and that the target date is still October 17th. So that looks like that all that shit's going to be taken care of. That fight is it's finally going to happen. And then Jamal Herring and Shakur Stevenson are going to fight October 23rd for Herring's belt that he got from Frampton. Huge fight for Stevenson. As good as Herring
Stevenson on the map in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it is. It's a big fight. Honestly, I think this is easy work for Stevenson, to be honest with you. Easy fucking work. I don't think there's any way he loses this fight. So he's about to be champion. Yeah, and then Loma. Lomachenko is looking to fight Richard Comey in December. And so this tells me that Loma really is taking this vendetta against Tio. Like, he's obsessed with it, because now, again, Nakatani had never been knocked out before. He gave Lopez probably his toughest fight he ever had, and Loma went in there and made him look like a fucking amateur. And now, so Tio knocked out Comey in the 5th round. So Loma looks like he's going to try to get in there and put him out before the 5th round to try to show up Tio, because of this obsession that he has with getting his revenge, which I think he will get eventually. But that'll be exciting. I mean, Comey's he's a strong dude, but he's slow. He's got very slow feet, and I don't think there's any fucking way he lands on Loma. So,
well, let's hopefully we get that fucking Tio Loma fight again. So I want to see it again. All right, cool. So a lot of good stuff coming up. Good fight this weekend for boxing and UFC. We got Manny Pacquiao versus Ugas. Jake saying, what'd you say, 4th round?
5th round. 5th
round KO. I'm going to go with 8th round KO. And then for UFC, we got Cannonier versus Gastelum. I'm going with Gastelum by unanimous decision. And any other boxing stuff coming up?
Well, we got the fucking Woodley.
Jake Paul. Next weekend or the weekend after?
Next weekend, the 29th.
All right, so we'll talk about that. We'll break that down a little bit, and then we'll go from there.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Unfortunately. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in this far. As always, if you have any fighters that you want us to look at, fights you're looking forward to, anything like that, let us know. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.